A mandolin player, a dreadhead with a banjo, a guitar strummer, and a dude literally named Funk walk into a bar. This isn't the start of a bad joke, but rather the start of the Kitchen Dwellers, an incredibly talented jam and bluegrass band from Bozeman, Montana. Made up of Sean Swain, Torrin Daniels, Joe Funk, and Max Davies, Kitchen Dwellers are no ordinary bluegrass band. We sat down with Max to learn how the band got their start and their name, what makes their live performances so special, and what it's like for four grown men to travel the country in a van for a decade. In the mountain town of Bozeman, Montana, you'll find stunning naturescapes, wildlife, nightlife, and Montana State University. It was here that four friends found one another and started their very own brand of galaxy grass, a mysterious blend of bluegrass and funk with a psychedelic twist. Torrin and Sean met as MSU freshmen on the very first day of classes. They instantly connected over both playing the mandolin. Torrin also just got a banjo, so the two decided to start playing together.
Sean and Torrin met like the very first day of college.
Wow.
They were like, "Hey, do you you play music?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you play music?" He's like, "Yeah." "Do you want to learn the banjo?" And Torrin was like, "Yeah, I'll try to learn the banjo." And then they just started this kind of folk bluegrass band.
Shortly after Sean and Torrin began playing together, Joe Funk and Kyle Shellstad joined and the Kitchen Dwellers were formed. Even with so much talent in the group, there was still something missing. As graduation from MSU drew near, the missing piece was put into place. Another MSU grad had been playing in a band that opened up for Kitchen Dwellers all around Bozeman. Later described by Sean as a pivotal moment in the band's musical growth, Max Davies entered the band and eventually became the final member of the band's lineup, a lineup that has remained solid for a decade. The early days of the band were wild and exactly what you'd expect from a college town known for its dive bars. The cops showed up on several occasions, according to Torrin. He tells Relics.com, "It was a pretty regular thing for the cops to show up at a function that we were playing. With that being the landscape where the band cut their teeth, the only way to really describe it is
nutty."
It was all house parties and open mics at this time. But the official start of the band may be credited to one open mic night in particular.
I mean, so the first gig was, it was like an open mic, and that's where the name came from.
But it wouldn't be much of a story if it ended there, though. So we'll let Max tell you the rest.
They were signing up for an open mic, and we're like, we need a name to sign up for the open mic. And I think it was Joe's girlfriend at the time was like, well, you guys only ever play and practice in the kitchen, so you should just call yourselves the Kitchen Dwellers. And they were like, that sounds good.
As their name became more recognizable around Bozeman, they played every show and gig they could get their hands on. By strategically booking after shows around Phish concerts and just plain damn working harder than everyone else, the guys found themselves on larger and larger stages, further and further from home. By 2016, the band was gaining national attention and opening for jam band legends, Pigeons Playing Ping Pong. It wasn't long before the band was in the studio working on an album. 2017's Ghost in the Bottle was well received and helped make the Kitchen Dwellers a household name for many. The 9.5-minute title track reminisces on the Montana sky and the ghosts of the past through the playful banjo and mandolin. With a little help from a successful Kickstarter campaign, Muir Made followed in 2019. On this album is the track The Living Red, which ironically is one of the best examples of the high energy and experimentation of a live Kitchen Dwellers performance. It captures the jam band vibe, but also highlights this galaxy grass journey that characterizes the band. Max tells us about how the band adopted this tag.
I can't say if somebody was to hear the term galaxy grass, I don't know what they would conjure up sounds weird, might not be in it. So we were like, do we want to like, do we want to like own that term? And then we were like, well, I mean, we kind of do, because that is definitely a strong portion of it.
The band released a few Pink Floyd cover tracks and 3 live albums between 2019 and 2021. The next full-length studio album, Wise River, came in 2022. Producer Corey Wong of Wolfpack lent a hand on this album and helped the band find a more rock-influenced sound. The album was characterized by the band's focus on nature, history, and the geography of Montana. In fact, the rock influences were so heavy, the band doesn't even refer to it as a bluegrass album. Wong encouraged the band to experiment with instrumentation, so fans suddenly heard things like keyboard, electric guitars, and song structure that was very different than prior albums. Sean Swain tells AmericanHighways.org, Corey Wong is this funk, shredding guitar powerhouse. So I think a lot of that will come through on the album in the way that he hears this batch of songs. So much of the band's earlier work centered around the natural world and life around them, but 2024's Seven Devils marked a significant shift. The album had a clear theme that the band explored. Guitarist Max Davies filled us in.
Dante's Inferno, we related many of the songs to the Seven Deadly Sins.
This album may also feel different because of the different approach the band took to recording. They really took their time with this one.
Before we would book studio time, and it would be like, oh, we have 4 days to go in and record this album, and then that's it. Like, so we had everything really dialed, and it was like, this, we're gonna go in and we're gonna nail this in 4 days. Whereas this one kind of like upped the ante a little bit as far as just what the quality that we want to put out, and the effort into the songwriting and the arrangement and the actual quality of the recording and everything that goes into it. We're super proud with how it all turned out. And
Max also admits the band being a little more carefree with that studio time.
this album, we kind of went in with maybe the songs less polished.
Another huge impact was recording with Grammy winner Glenn Brown, who has also worked with the likes of Billy Strings and Greensky Bluegrass.
Worked with a guy named Glenn Brown. He recorded Billy Strings' Home album. He did Turmoil and Tinfoil. He's done like every Green Sky album. His recordings of acoustic instruments is like, in my opinion, it's like the best I've heard.
And after some really good advice, the guys knew exactly what direction they wanted to go.
Talked to him. He was like, I listened to all of your albums and I've seen you guys live, and I feel like we can capture the live kind of vibe a little bit more than maybe what you guys have done in the past. So we kind of really leading into that a little bit with him. I think we have Glenn to thank a lot for that, because he was like, I want you guys, this to sound like you guys.
The final contributing factor was also the most likely. The band turned their perspective inward and let themselves be guided into the introspective.
We were thinking, very inward when it came to writing a lot of the music, Wise River, the album before that, we talked a lot about the natural world. And then for this album, we kind of like really thought about inward and our personal lives.
The Crow and the Raven, representing the sin of lust, is a standout track from the album. Sean Swain describes the story behind the song.
In 2018, I had someone break up with me that really devastated me. And it was in the middle of tour, and everything's good now. Obviously, I moved on with my life. But at that point, it seemed monumentally hard. And so I had like a few days off in the middle of tour, so I ended up flying back to Colorado, where she lived and a bunch of my stuff was. And the night before I went and got all my stuff, I just actually didn't have an instrument, so I went to a guitar center after I landed at like 8 p.m. and bought like a tiny little Camp Martin camping guitar so I could, have it around with me. And I wrote that song on that guitar that night. And then the next morning I got all my stuff, flew back and met the guys, finished tour, and never really looked back on it, I suppose, too much.
Sean also mentioned Lindsay Lou, whose vocals have been featured prominently in other Kitchen Dwellers' work.
Lindsay Lou, who sang a lot of she sang some lead, and she really nailed a lot of the backup. And we've known her forever, and so it's like she knows our music, we know what she can do and how great she is, so it was just really fun to have her on it.
As is evident in their work, collaboration is an important part of the Kitchen Dwellers' writing and recording process.
I think being open to the working with other people, they're going to open your eyes and ears to some new stuff.
There's always natural collaboration in a group, but the band is no stranger to new ideas and new instruments from outside the group. On Waterford Sun from Seven Devils, the band included culturally relevant instruments and artists in order to authentically tell the story of Irishman Thomas Marr.
We have a tune that's inspired by this Irishman, Thomas Marr, who has a really fascinating history, but we were like, well, let's get some Irish instrumentation on here. So we had the Bowerin drum, we have penny whistle on it, and the guy that played the Bowerin drum, he actually is a really good percussionist who lives in Ireland.
Broken land and a wish, whisper of a war, her hand struck down, killing the sound, vowing to return.
Every band has challenges that stand in the way of their success. Kitchen Dwellers themselves have struggled with van breakdowns, weather-threatening performances, and just improving their skills as musicians. Max tells us some of the hurdles that the band has jumped over in the last decade.
In the early days, it's like we're broken down on the side of the road, or we're a storm came through and we can't get to the show. It can cause, depending on who you are, can cause a lot of frustration and angst and yeah, and just like how do we take it from here? Even just growing the thing, getting merch going. That's a challenge.
One of the most challenging things for the Kitchen Dwellers is the fact that there are 4 grown men traveling the country in a van. As someone who lives in a van with a partner, I can tell you that space is tight and tensions can be high. I can't even imagine having 4 grown men spending extended amounts of time in one. But that's exactly how the band gets around, and have been for 10 years.
Well, if you think about it, it's 4 guys driving around in a van for a decade. So the list is endless. If it was easy, we wouldn't be doing it. We probably would have gotten bored by now. In the beginning days when it was just the 4 of us, it was like just getting from A to B is a challenge. And as we've grown now, we have people on the road with us now. We have a tour manager, a sound engineer, a light guy. The challenges are fun, and that's, like I said, that's why we keep doing it, is because it is a challenge.
As the band has grown, they've also challenged themselves to continuously improve their craft and their sound.
A lot of it, the challenge is also musical. It's like we're trying to get better at our instruments, get better at songwriting. It is a craft, and so just the challenges of writing, like there's like the music side, there's the band side, there's all these different kinds of places where you can grow.
But the band doesn't shy away from this challenge or any others. In fact, they find the challenges to be motivating and recognize that each one makes the band stronger. So many bands fall victim to the interpersonal conflict that naturally occurs within a group of people. But the Kitchen Dwellers face that conflict head on and solve problems together.
Making decisions on a day-to-day basis, it's a partnership. It's a group of 4 people that everybody has an equal voice. And so it's a marriage between 4 guys.
Leaving town to put my feet down in the sand.
That van will be taking the boys all across the country this fall on tour. Hearing the Kitchen Dwellers on an album is one thing, but seeing a live performance is something else entirely. It's nothing for the band to go off on a melodic tangent, just playing what feels good or what the crowd seems to be responding to. This might include using the instruments in experimental ways, extending the album version of a song, or filtering sound in unique ways. There's really no limit to what you might experience at a live show.
We will play like a 30-minute song, and we also weave like the way that our set lists are created is that we weave in and out of a lot of songs. We're also very experimental. Like we'll go off on long excursions on a song that we have never done before. Like we're very open to like exploring musically throughout the show. So I think that it really actually does kind of work, because it's a bluegrass band, but we also do a lot of effect driven sounds and stuff during the show, and our, we make Swain will get some crazy reverse delay thing. Torin makes his banjo sound like lasers sometimes.
The band will be touring extensively over the final months of 2024. Max gives us all the details about their upcoming shows.
We're playing the Annapolis Bluegrass Festival in Maryland. We've got a big fall tour coming up. And we're going out. We're bringing a band called Shadowgrass with us, and they're just these young, insanely good players that I can't wait to see every night. Yeah, the fall tour that ends in Denver, and we're playing the Mission Ballroom with Daniel Donato. That's a big show for us. We're doing Strings and Soul in Mexico in December, and then finishing the year, we're actually playing the last shows at the Salvage Station in Asheville, North Carolina. That's going to be kind of wild. On the road, these people turn into family. Whether that's people that put on the shows or just that come to the shows, like they really do turn into families.
If you get the chance to see the Kitchen Dwellers at Cascade Equinox or in a city near you, make sure you do, because, well,
if people don't come to the shows, then we probably can't continue to be a band. So
we'll be catching them at Cascade Equinox Festival. Max tells us why he loves playing in Oregon and gives us a sneak peek of what fans can expect at that set.
Playing Oregon has always been one of our absolute favorite places. We'll be playing some new material. Right now, we're having so much fun playing all these new songs. So we're going to pepper in a good bit of the new stuff. Some of our older songs, it's going to be hopefully some tight playing bluegrass, also some rockin' tunes. We try to really build a little arc of energy throughout the show. So you might hear some cowboy music, you might hear a metal song, you might hear a rap song, but it'll be a handful of original songs, mostly from the new album, and there will be some older ones too. But yeah, we're just out there to have a good time and have everyone else have a blast.
The band is slowly returning to the studio and getting back into the groove of writing. Regardless of whether you experience the Kitchen Dwellers live or on your favorite streaming service, the band hopes that you'll enjoy your time spent with them.
I just want people to, if they look back on the time that maybe they spent with the band, just that they had a great time. Because that's really why I play music, is because of the enjoyment that I get from music. I just love music so much because of growing up with it and listening to it in the car and listening to it at work and while I'm at home, like just blasting music and dancing around while you're cleaning your house. Like, I hope people, if they had a great time with us at some point in their life, then that's awesome.
And we hope that you had a great time with us. Be sure to follow the Kitchen Dwellers on their socials linked below, and do yourself a favor of buying a ticket to a show near you. Do us a favor by hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss our on-site interview with the mother of gremlins herself, Sippy.